Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Mayor's Show. I'm Mayor Jess Talamantes, and one of the big discussions that we've been having over the several years that I've been on council is traffic. Traffic throughout the city of Burbank, traffic throughout the region. Here in Burbank, we have a traffic management center. So we're here today to give you a little bit of background on what the management center is all about and who runs it. And we're here with Stephen.
Stephen, hi.
Hey, Stephen.
Welcome, yes.
Glad to meet you. And Stephen's going to give us a little bit of a history, or more or less a little introduction to what the Traffic Management Center does and to who he works with.
Yeah, so we've been here for fully functioning about 6 years, and we put a lot of work into reducing traffic congestion in the city. Our goal is to make signalized intersections run safely and efficiently. And perhaps not as easy as it sounds, but we've got some very good people working on the case here. Richard Lockyer is our traffic signal timing specialist. And then next to him is David Wilcox, who does pretty much everything, but he's our communication specialist, and he's in charge of the smart stuff that goes into allowing us and our computer to make decisions to hopefully make our citizens' lives better.
So anything dealing with smart stuff, it goes to...
He's a smart guy.
Okay, great.
He has it in his job title. That is intelligent.
Excellent. And you know, and you've heard this too. You live in the city of Burbank, and the traffic is a big problem. And it's not only in Burbank, but the region wide. But because of you and your colleagues, you're making things more efficient and easier to get around the city. Can you explain to us a couple of things that are being done throughout the city to make the traffic flow more efficiently?
Yeah, so I know that that's a can of worms because there's no perfect solution to the traffic problem. We have a lot of cars. A lot of people like to live in Burbank. A lot of people like to come here and do their business. A lot of people like to work here. It's a great place to be. And more cars, our infrastructure, the way our city is designed, it's not ideal for a grid. It's not on a grid where we can have traffic flow. We don't have a whole bunch of lanes to put cars in. And we want to look out for our local folks as well, and trying to balance our safety stuff, which is our priority, with our efficiency. So basically, we've been installing smart devices, they call them, but sensors in the street to count cars, and communications infrastructure to bring that data back to our computer, so our computer can run those numbers against some predetermined an outline that we've put in some parameters, and allow the computer to have more of an automatic adjustment to are there more cars going southbound today versus northbound? Is it a balanced thing? Is there a problem on the freeway now that's dumped cars onto something like Glen Oaks or on Hollywood Way, or unusual events that the lights are able to then adjust on their own without us using what's traditional, a historical plan, basically looking backwards and saying what happened yesterday is probably going to happen today. Now we're moving towards what's actually happening now, and can the whole system adjust to that?
So you're getting more updated information, more current information to work with.
Real time. It's happening in real time, and our computer is doing two-minute decisions in some locations, and 15-minute decisions in other locations.
Now, I know at the city council level, we've approved a couple of grants that you've applied for, and we've been fortunate enough to receive. One dealing, I guess, to implement efficiencies on Glen Oaks, and a couple other streets, Buena Vista and Hollywood Way.
Yeah, that's correct. The Glen Oaks one was a pilot that we did a couple of years ago. We work very closely with the best in the business here in Southern California and across the country to find a solution. There is no one size fits all solution that's off the shelf that we could just come and plug in a magic box and the problems go away. So we've got some really good people working on it, and you know, the bureaucracy, these things take time. But we have our infrastructure in place and our communication system in place. We've got good people working on the system. Buena Vista, we hope to have that online with the new operation this summer, and then Hollywood Way will have the new operation in the fall.
Now, what's a future plan? What would you envision moving forward with the rest of the city?
We will then go from the north-south arterials. We will do the east-west, perhaps starting on something like Magnolia, and then moving to Alameda, to Victory, to Olive, to Empire. trying to cross-coordinate. In our city, because of the way our streets are laid out, it's not quite a grid, so it doesn't quite work as well as it used to back in the days before we had all the left turn movements. With the smaller cycle length and the fewer cars, a lot easier to make the cross coordination work. When you get to a place like Buena Vista and Magnolia, how do we determine who stops? Is it Buena Vista that gets the smooth flow, or is it Magnolia? And we're pretty much going on statistics now. That's just, the one with the most cars wins.
In regards to looking down the road several years, and like you mentioned, working on other arterials throughout the city, going east and west, would you ever envision some of the side streets being part of this system?
Of course, the side streets are always my consideration. That's where our residents are. That's where our constituents are. That's where I am as well. It's a tough one because when I said that we do our stuff based on statistics, it's not purely to say, hey, well, there's more cars on the main street, let's give them all that. It is tough, though, because you're coming out of your house, you're looking up and down the street, and there's, I don't see any cars coming, why can't I go? And unfortunately, when we try to make this synchronization on the arterial, it's slave to the bigger intersections with all the big movements. So if you're at Reese and Magnolia or, down at California, those intersections are tied to either Buena Vista, Victory, or Hollywood Way. So, yeah.
And one thing that I've noticed, for example, the width of the street also has a factor in how long you have to wait, because it gives a pedestrian a certain amount of time to cross the street.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. So our pedestrian standards, the pedestrian time consumes the most time in the cycle, and that is the first criteria for safety that we consider in timing an intersection. Unfortunately for us, the federal government mandated back in 2010 that we give more time to pedestrians. And I know that that's a good thing. I don't want to ever create an unsafe condition. But what it does is most of our folks here in town get across the street fairly well, and you can see that they're already halfway down the block, but the light is still flashing, don't walk. So that's a constraint that we're held to. And until the federal government or the state of California changes the way that we can approach that, it is a constraint.
So you mean we have guidelines to follow? We can't just do whatever we want? We do. We have obviously state guidelines and federal guidelines that we have to abide by. And regardless of what some of the residents come and tell us, I hear it all the time at the council meetings. When are you going to do something about this traffic, Mr. Mayor? When are you going to take care of this traffic? But anyway, we're working on it. This is one of the reasons I'm putting this show together with the PIO staff and you and your staff as well, to show the residents that we do have a traffic management center, and we are thinking about the residents, and we are thinking safety first and efficiency second.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And then we have our infrastructure, where we have old conduits that are in the ground that have been there for 40, 50 years. We have poles that our last winter here, we had a couple of them fall down just because of rust, where the money to update that stuff. And that's completely different than what we're trying to do here with optimizing. And so if we get money and then try to prioritize, where's this going to go? Is it going to go into something that nobody's going to feel a difference, like changing a conduit? People don't notice that, but that's an important infrastructure improvement and a safety issue. But we are putting stuff in, believe me, every part of this town we comb over all the time. We're constantly looking for improvements and ways to optimize. It's kind of a 24-hour job for most of us. And we've got, I think, 9 guys on our team, 3 of us in here, and then quite a few out in the field all the time, working all the time, looking for ways to improve and keeping our system running. We have more than 10,000 inputs into our system at 200 signalized locations, so maintaining that stuff to give our computers the proper data, to give us the proper data so that we're making intelligent decisions, again, with safety and efficiency in mind.
And that's a good point that you bring up infrastructure. We have to remember that the city of Burbank is over 100 years old. And, some of these systems have been around for 50, 60 years, and that's going to break down. So it's going to have to be replaced. And what does it take? Money. obviously. And sometimes right now we're going through a shortage of money, but anyway, we do our best to try and keep the infrastructure improved to the point that's very safe and efficient for the residents. And with your help and experience and your technology and your colleagues as well, we're doing it the way we should be doing it.
So I shouldn't ask for a raise, or?
Oh, well, we can discuss that later. Stephen, here we are. We have a pictorial of an intersection. Could you explain to me some of the infrastructure improvements you wish to make here?
So this is the media district, and here is Alameda, and here's Riverside, and this is Pass Avenue, the 134 off-ramp up here, and then you're familiar with Bob's Big Boy and Priscilla's and Lemonade. Oh my gosh, let's go there for lunch. Good idea. But very limited amount of storage space for cars, in that once you stack it up, you'll see here real quick that if the cars continue to spill over, we get a gridlock situation. And so we need these intersections to cycle very efficiently to service everybody. What we're going to do next, we've been waiting for some money, and it's come through, that we'll remove this island here, so we'll be able to extend these lanes. We're going to change the turn movement up here. We're going to, instead of having 2 lanes, bring it down to 1, and we'll do that in both directions. And what that will allow us to do is remove this, what's called a protected left turn, which means that there's a red arrow there, and the folks in this truck here can't move because they're facing this red arrow right here. And if we move to this technology where we put a flashing yellow arrow in, where he's allowed to yield, and now that he sees, right after this white truck goes by, there's nobody blocking him. There's no reason for him not to go right now. So that will save this cycle time just in and of itself 10 or 15 seconds by allowing him to go at that time. So that type of a thing in the media district. We have those types of improvements all over the city, plotted and programmed. We're doing a tremendous number of those on Buena Vista as well.
So this is just one example, like you say, that we're going to be looking at and applying for monies, obviously try and get some monies through grants.
Already in the pipeline. This will be done this year.
What about future improvements? How would you try and get some monies to do those improvements?
Yeah, fortunately, that's not that's upstairs. So we just spend money on well, we recommend improvements, and we have them throughout the city. Something that seems like a small thing here with the restriping, with removing a little bit of cement and some dirt and paving over that. It's again, it's not something we can run out and do ourselves today, but submitting a proposal, coming up with a plan, sending it out to bid, all that stuff through the finance department. I mean, it's bureaucracy, but the end result is going to be better for the city, a better place to live, a better place to work.
Well, Stephen, this has been great. I mean, I know it's just a few minutes of your time that we're giving the residents. There's a lot more involved in this operation, but just to give us a Reader's Digest version of what you do here, what the operation does, and controls the entire city.
Yeah, that's right. I appreciate you guys coming. It's good for us. We enjoy interaction with the public. We know a lot of the challenges that the folks face. We've been a little reluctant to do this type of an interview in the past because of just the inundation of everybody's issues. But we are aware of everything, and certainly if there's a safety concern, please feel free to reach out. And an optimization concern, we're happy to address that and to look at it and to use our technology to make our lives better.
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me clearance to come into this facility and do the interview. But once again, you can see what we're doing in the city of Burbank. With this Transportation Management Center, we're being proactive, we're being responsive to the community needs, and the individuals that work here are on top of it and looking for better improvements, better efficiencies moving forward, but always thinking of safety first. So this is Mayor Jess Talamantes with another edition of the Mayor's Show.